Hey everyone, I'm Kiting is Hard. Welcome to the first video of Advanced TFT Concepts, the first video of a series where I talk about my thoughts on general TFT concepts, not specifics about what's currently strong, but overall knowledge useful in every potential TFT meta. It's very likely that TFT will be frequently patched, and I don't want to just give information about a temporary meta. I stream regularly at twitch.tv/kitingishard, and I do my best to provide informational commentary. Drop by to check out my climb to the top. If this kind of video is well received, I'll be looking for an editor since I'm not very good with editing and it takes me an extraordinarily long time to accomplish basic tasks. Today I'll be covering the main concepts of TFT, some ideas to keep in mind as you play the game. A quick disclaimer, these are just ideas that I personally have about the game, not facts written in stone. Feel free to disagree with anything that you think doesn't make sense. Every TFT team has three values, econ, power, and potential, which I will talk about later. Econ is how much money you have and how much interest you can earn per round, while power is how strong your team is. Spending money increases your power, and saving money stagnates your power. The average power of the game varies from lobby to lobby, and it increases over time. If you fall too far behind, you lose too much HP. If you are ahead, you can save money and increase your econ. Econ and power are fairly simple concepts, but utilizing these concepts in game is very difficult. Understanding how strong your comp is on any given round and scouting opponents to evaluate the average power level are good ways of min-maxing in high elo lobbies. Scouting can also help you position against certain comps and look for blitzcranks and zephyrs, which becomes more and more important as the game goes on. A core concept of the game that the majority of players don't seem to understand is the difference between playing for first and playing for third. In any given game with roughly equal skilled players, it is nearly impossible to get first place every game, since many times someone will high roll into a meta comp like getting an early Draven 2 or a Kali 2. As such, sometimes it's nearly impossible for you to get first place. Understanding when you have been dealt a poor hand and playing for third instead of first will help you in your climb. The primary difference between playing for first and playing for third is how you use your econ. When playing for first, usually you start with a decently strong comp, or you high roll towards whatever end comp you want, and then save econ as long as you can to get more value the longer the game goes on. When playing for third, instead of constantly saving 50 gold, you push for levels instead, oftentimes dropping down to 30 or even 20 gold, and you also reroll more frequently to push power into your comp, as spending gold equates to increasing power. Leveling early helps you find stronger units, and also strengthens your team with an additional unit, a guaranteed power-up, opposed to the RNG power-up from rerolling for an upgrade. This playstyle tends to save your HP, which becomes the deciding factor between ending in third and ending in sixth. Since you are not planning to play to late game, your lack of econ is not as heavily punished, since there aren't as many rounds to quote-unquote lose gold on. A team's potential is the amount of potential growth the composition has in the endgame. For example, gunslingers are a low potential build, since once you finish your gunslingers, you can't really strengthen the comp with any synergies and you end up relying on just random good units. Similarly, Ninja 4, Assassin 6 are a comp that once all the units are collected at level 8, you can't really strengthen without 3-starring units, which is very difficult. However, Sorcerers are a comp that can expand late game to include other synergies and stronger units. When playing for third, generally you try to build low potential comps with some flexibility since they peak at maximum power much faster and as a result you lose less HP. For example, you wouldn't want to build something like Yordle 6 Sorcerer Shapeshifter since that requires 8 specific units and a spatula item. When playing for first, potential usually doesn't matter, you would just pick a strong comp like Volibear Hypercarry with Brawlers or Ninja Elemental Assassins. Just some differences in playstyles to keep in mind. I usually play for third since it's more secure. I have a 23 out of 24 top 4 ratio when playing for third. Moving on, the next concept is the difference between playing from behind and playing from ahead. If you are close to hitting a power spike and you are behind, you can consider rerolling to push your power back up to or above the lobby average. If you are already ahead, you don't need to reroll. An edge case is when you have a decently long win streak and you are already strong but you are close to hitting another power spike. You can consider rerolling to push your win streak and use your win streak bonus income to supplement your economy. I think most people play late game wrong. They save 50 gold until they start losing, and then they spend all their money to try to strengthen their comp. Personally, I think this is incorrect. What I do is, I'll be constantly looking around, checking how much money everyone has and what their HP is. When people fall below 30 HP, they tend to spend all their money, heavily increasing the average power level of the lobby. When I see somewhere around 4 or 5 people drop below 30 HP, I'll start spending some of my money. Instead of sitting on 50 gold, I might spend down to 30 for a while, then once the lower people have been knocked out, I'll consider either saving back up or continuing to spend depending on how my own HP looks. When my HP hits around 40 or 30 off a sharp loss, instead of panic spending all my money, I'll gradually drop my gold level down. For example, if in my head I feel like I would die after 3 or 4 more rounds, and I currently have 50 gold, I'll drop down to 30 for the next round, and then maybe 20 for the next, then 10 to try to prolong my life. If I spend straight down to 0 and I live for a few rounds, I lose out on some interest money. This way, not only is it easier to macro since you don't have to spend all your money in one turn, you might spend down to 20 and realize that your comp has been strengthened heavily and start saving money again. If you spend all your money immediately, you don't have the option of returning to an econ-focused playstyle. Additionally, calculating how much gold you should save towards the end of the game also includes what potential upgrades you can make. For example, if you are sitting on 50 gold and you need 2 more Vagars to make a Vagar 3 and you have no other upgradable unit on the field, and you are also not looking to level or make any other 3-star units, you can reroll quite heavily since after finding the Vagars there's no point in saving any more money anyway. However, if you still need a lot of units to finish your final build, spending money on rerolling is quite dangerous since you need to keep your econ high. As a general rule, you should try to match your econ hitting 0 with either dying or finishing your final build. I always see people spend their money on rerolling too early and not have enough money to finish their build, or still have 30 gold or more as they die. During the game, your goal is to collect good units on your bench, upgrade them, then swap them into your build. Due to the nature of auto chess games, only buying units that go into your final build often doesn't work, since during the process of building your comp, you will take too much damage and die. Common transition units include brawlers and nobles, stuff that keeps your team strong early on as you find units that go into your final comp. Transitioning is an extremely vital skill, since in high tier lobbies, everyone is using the strongest team available to them. If you aren't good at transitioning your team, you will take too much damage and be forced to spend your money too early. If you hit a strong unit early game, you can consider picking it up. However, if you aren't planning to use the unit in the immediate future, you could potentially lose gold by holding it. For example, holding onto a random Lysandra I found at the beginning of the game for potential elementals might result in me losing interest, when I could just pick up a Lysandra later on after I find a brand. Losing out on one interest isn't just 1 gold since it compounds, like saving 30 gold now helps me hit 40 gold next turn, while 20 gold now limits me to 30 gold next turn, and so on. Positioning for first carousel is a big part of the game since it's one of the only times you can guarantee an item. When starting out, follow the first spawn unit on your side, slightly ahead of it, and walk clockwise to stay on it. If the first or second unit has an item you want, like recurve bow, continue following it around. If not, start walking clockwise since it's too hard for you to keep up with the next 3. Your goal is to walk to one of the later spawns on the opposite side of where you started, and stand still in the place where the item you want will end up as the carousel wall falls. If you keep moving, you can get body blocked out of position. Knowing where the item will stop comes with experience. I used to sandbag for a better carousel pick early. It usually costs around 20 HP. Recently I have stopped since 20 HP is, in my opinion, too high of a price to pay for a faster item choice. The difference between being 40 HP and 20 HP, for example, is way too big. At 40 HP you still have the choice of saving money, while at 20 HP you pretty much die in 2 rounds and you have to go all in. I see a lot of newer players holding items on their bench too scared to use them since they might want to make different items depending on their future comp. A solution is to put item components on transition units that you plan to sell later on as you build your team. Another solution is to build items that go into pretty much any comp like Spear of Shojin or generally strong items like Cursed Blade. Positioning in general is more complex of a topic. It's something that can't be taught in passing, so I will probably be making a video about it in the future. As a general rule, backline squishies, frontline tanks, protect your team from assassins, blitzcranks, and zephyrs. Consider what unit will be hit first by an enemy positioning on either the left or the right side, and think about how range units versus melee units move. Since the meta is likely to change bi-weekly due to multiple buffs and nerfs, similarly to League of Legends, the only real way to understand what is strong is to play the game and watch others, and try out every composition frequently. TFT is bottom line an information-based game. If you have the knowledge, you don't need mechanics to play. Like poker, you base your decisions off the hand you are given, and you make decisions based on probabilities. Sometimes you will low roll and sometimes you will high roll. The trick is to consistently play better than others on average, since TFT, like poker, isn't played hand by hand, but rather over time. Best of luck, tacticians. Hope the information I provided helps you all out.